Okay, wait. So the reason why we named this podcast the 30% podcast is because we saw a statistic, but this was in 2022, so it might have changed. That of the music that's played on radio that's Kenyan is between 30 and 40%.
I think despite the effort by the systems to create that where we like the I want to say what's the word? The picture that we don't consume our own, that data is still false.
Yo, what's up, and welcome to episode 69 of the 30% podcast, hosted by yours truly, Afam and Sam. And today we have two special guests. We have Bilha and we have Vincent from ONErpm. Let's go! Let's go. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Congratulations on 69 episodes.
Oh, thank you so much. And speaking of 69 episodes,
Oh no.
Does any of you listen to Tekashi 69?
No.
Okay. Tekashi 69 is historically
I know
known
him.
as a rat. And I wanted to, as a
yes,
rat because
after he snitched on.
after
Yes.
he snitched. So I want to give you guys at least 3 fun facts about
Why are we
rats.
doing fun facts? Wow.
Just
This
because
podcast.
it's interesting.
We're not promoting
Listen,
snitching on
listen. I know this is a music platform, but sometimes we need these like interesting
don't, though.
tidbits.
We don't.
Yes,
I'm
we
with
do.
you. I'm with you, Afam.
Thank you.
Okay, wow.
So,
all right.
1, did you guys know that a group of rats is called a mischief?
Mischief.
A
Yes,
mischief
that I know.
of rats. Did
No.
you
Maybe
guys
that's
know
what
that?
The label
No,
is
I
about.
didn't. I feel like you're in a group of schools knowledge. Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you.
The second one is rats are apparently nocturnal and live underground.
So these 3 facts are all about rats?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know this is very
Rat
weird.
facts.
Listen,
day.
Oh,
Sam
wow.
has
Rat
to put up,
facts.
Sam has to put up with my
Uh-huh.
idiosyncrasies.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, I'm looking for an interesting one. Rats can hear well, including sounds that is too high pitched for humans to hear. Interesting.
Isn't that all
Wow.
animals?
Okay.
though?
No, that's not all animals. There's some animals which have historically horrible hearing. Sam.
Mm-hmm.
I had a-
Anyway,
I had a joke out of
yeah.
myself.
Aside from my facts about rats, how are you guys?
Doing
Super
good.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, does that apply to mouse as well or just rats? Because
You know, I've never really known the difference. between a
difference.
mouse.
It's the same thing.
Isn't it the same thing?
one
No,
looks
they're
bigger
different
than the
species.
other, you guys.
Or the different species?
Mice are smaller than rats.
What was Jerry from Tom and Jerry? Was he a mouse
He's
or
a
a
mouse.
rat?
Mouse.
So what's a rat? The ones that are outside.
Yeah. Just think New York.
New York, not Nairobi. Like Rogon.
Oh, even Nairobi. Have you been to some places in Nairobi? I've seen some rats.
I lived in the ghetto. I saw rats, bruh.
You saw rats,
they're
big
so
ones.
huge, man.
There. But anyway, how are you guys? How are you faring? Happy New Year.
Happy New
Happy
Year.
New Year.
In March.
Happy Valentine's.
From midway
Happy
through March.
Valentine's, Easter.
Capricorn. Happy birthday.
Wait, you've spoken about. Do you believe in
No.
star signs?
Believe no.
Believe in God alone.
You believe in God alone?
There we go. Yeah.
Wait, are you what's what's
man.
your star
a
sign?
Libra.
You're a Libra,
Mhm.
and you're a
Leo.
Leo.
Yeah.
Libra,
August, yeah.
Leo.
Why are you always trying to turn people into the crystal
She
boys?
mentioned about
You always do
Capricorn.
this. I don't
No,
know.
I latched
don't
onto
know.
something that she
Yeah,
mentioned.
I
That's
think-
all.
Wait, how many seasons have we passed? Capricorn and
There's
February.
been Aquarius and
Aquarius.
Pisces, and now we're entering
That
the
shows you.
Aries season.
I'm like, I know of it.
You know
but,
about
like,
it,
I'm
but you're just not a
into
believer.
the-
It doesn't dictate your
Yeah,
personality.
I mean, there are
Okay.
people who are like, the moon is half today. It's
Yeah.
not going to work. No, I'm not like that. But
Mars is in retrograde.
which one are you?
I'm an Aries.
Aries.
Yeah.
That
starts on the 21st of March.
So this is your season.
Almost.
Almost.
Right now we're still in Pisces.
Hey. Hey.
Afam season.
Yeah, it's almost my time.
Right. And Sam?
I have no idea. I don't know.
What's your month?
I don't know. Oh, I was born in September.
Oh,
no,
just before
that's close to being
Libra.
like a Virgo or something.
Yeah, there's a Virgo or Scorpio is after.
Ew,
Yeah.
I don't like Virgos.
Oh,
yeah,
there
you're
we
a
go.
Virgo.
You see, there we go. Now, what's the-
I've had Virgos are really bad people.
They, you know,
Wow.
you've had right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
Chuma,
I
have
don't
you ever
even know.
dated a Virgo?
No.
Don't date one.
No.
I
That's
don't
what
know
they
how
say.
I don't know how to.
I
feel
know
about
anything
that.
about them, but when there's warnings, I'm like, why try it? You know, there's warnings.
When you go for dates, do you ask people these things?
You're supposed to ask apparently on
This
your
is
first date.
this is key
Oh.
information
Yeah.
to know.
Wow.
Apparently. First date question,
So-
like, what
And
is
then
your credit
you
score?
go search on Google. Okay, this is your
how they match with yours. Yeah.
crazy.
So
Okay.
Libras, they match very well with Geminis.
I also really don't like Geminis.
Really?
No.
They match really well with
Oh, they don't
Libras.
like me.
No,
I don't
Libras
know.
are likable by everyone though, right?
Who?
Even Leos.
Libras.
We like Libras.
Yeah.
Libras. We like Libras over here.
Which ones are Libras?
October.
The cool ones. Libras are cool.
Whoa.
We're always in the middle, like
Why
justice.
does Virgo get such a bad rep?
Because y'all are horrible.
Apparently,
That's not an answer.
I don't know. To the best of my knowledge, I think Drake is a Virgo.
No,
So we're
Drake
basing
is
all
a
of us
Scorpio.
because of
Is
Drake.
that?
Scorpio.
Scorpio. Oh, those ones are also bad.
Scorpios are toxic.
I'm glad I don't believe in that.
Wow.
I'm glad we're bonding over this. Yes. Because these guys are
When
not on
Mercury
our
is in
level.
retrograde, you just
Imagine
chill
life move. Yeah, we wake up in the morning and do what we're
and
doing.
wonder why your phone is not charging. Why
No,
people
the
are
phone
saying they
charges
can't.
actually.
And they try. No, actually, apparently that day everything, even like when you call someone in Akata Kuingia, like there's a whole mess of things, and then your relationship is just bad that day.
Yeah.
You're as lost as I am. Right?
I've never gone to a date and asked
Okay,
this.
me too.
I mean,
So you've never talked to a girl who's asked you
nobody
like,
has
your
ever
birth
asked me this.
chart
On the
and,
first date,
never.
that would be crazy.
I've never thought of you as a person who's been on a first date.
Come on.
Okay, all right. Now we're getting
See,
spicy.
we're learning
Now
things.
we're learning
We're
some
learning
things.
new things. But speaking of learning new things, maybe you guys can introduce yourselves to the
Yeah.
audience. So we could start with Bilha.
Hi guys, my name is Bilha. As Afam has said, I'm the country manager of ONErpm Kenya
Nice.
and currently the A&R in East Africa.
Crazy. Uh-huh.
Ooh, that's a big one. Congrats. Yeah, hi guys. My name is Mutuma Vincent.
Okay.
I'm the marketing lead for ONErpm in Kenya. Yeah.
ONErpm in Kenya, marketing lead.
Indeed, that's
So
East Africa?
Yeah,
This guy.
and for East Africa
And East
too.
Africa
Yeah.
itself.
yeah, why
sure.
are you being humble?
I know.
man? Come on,
This is the
man.
podcast we had with
Yeah.
Antonio. So we said this is a podcast where you come and you brag as much as you
As
want to
much
brag.
as you,
Okay,
yes.
let's go.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
go.
Mutuma,
So you both are working at ONErpm, and so a lot of our listeners are interested in the music industry, but maybe also casual. So maybe you would like to tell them what exactly
what your role
ONErpm
is. Okay.
is, what you guys do,
Okay.
and such. Like
Okay,
that.
so ONErpm stands for One Revolution, People's Music. It's a company that was started in the US, but then has grown over to almost 34 countries around the world. So generally, we are a distribution company.
Nice.
But then if you ask anybody from ONErpm, we are more than that. We are artist enablers.
Okay.
So we look at what the artist needs, and then we customize ourselves to help them depending on their needs. In Africa, we started operations in 2020 with Nigeria, and then we broadened up to Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, South Africa, Tanzania, Kenya in 2022. So in Africa, we are in around 8 countries right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
I read somewhere that ONErpm initially was founded like in Brazil. Like Brazil was the first target audience. And which means that you guys are working for a company that sees value in the developing markets, which is good, right? So, one of the questions I'd like to know is how do you guys see distribution in this market? Like, is there any difference from what it is like out there? Like, do you guys have to have different approaches, or is it just the same?
I mean, it depends on the day. If it's just putting music up to go to the different platforms,
Yeah.
that works the same almost everywhere. There's time limits and how platforms work and requirements, the same requirements that are required here for Kenyan artists is the same requirements that an American artist has to have.
And I think part of it is a big artist would have a legal team that if anything happens, they're very quickly.
Oh, they're
Smaller
ready.
artists, they don't have
Also
lawyers,
still
don't have
on
anything.
that, I mean, it's the education part. Most of these young guys, don't have anybody on the team, to tell them this is what is done.
Yeah.
This is what you need, for a rollout.
Yeah.
This is how a marketing plan should look like. So that's why we come in, that's why we are trying to fill in the shoes of their teams who they don't have.
Yeah. And even for the artist, ONErpm was there. Like hakuna vile hiyo song ita-uploadiwa na sisi hatuja notice wa kwanza tuta-claim the song as part of his royalties, or we'll just initiate a takedown.
Exactly.
So we're like his lawyers on that end. But yeah, that's a thing.
It's always a continuing conversation.
It's a continuing
Yeah.
conversation. Culture becomes and culture for Kenya differs with culture in Nigeria.
Yeah,
and that's
right.
another mistake a lot of people who are coming into the continent are
Yes.
making. They're like, oh, we are Africans. We
We
must
all
be the same.
We're not.
Yeah. Even early on when we joined ONErpm, the Nigeria team would be asking us, why aren't your artists doing this? And we have to tell them, so in East Africa, like Kenya,
Are there like things that you could say that
Yeah, are there
actual
examples?
examples of?
there's some of that. Then the release thing for Kenya, it becomes a bit more amplified in Tanzania.
Yeah.
Because they actually have no knowledge. Promotion, they don't know anything about streaming. They don't care about streaming. They just care about YouTube. When the song is on YouTube, that's when a release is released.
When it's on YouTube.
Yeah. So when you ask them to send the audio, they are wondering why. They want to
just
release
a
the
video.
video.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how they do rollouts for albums is they'll drop the album audios. They give you, because you asked for the audios, they'll give you. Then they'll do one song. Every song in the album will have a video.
But how is that sustainable for the young artists, the small artists
Bro.
who can't afford to
do, like,
release
really
Even
good
for the
videos
big
for every
artists,
song?
12 songs for every, from one album, 12 songs, you do videos for them.
That's
I told them that business is... I asked them, so how much money did it cost you? Because the videos...
Yeah.
I'm like, you should be releasing an album and then 3 videos from the album.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But no, they want to do the videos because nasema madam huku kwetu watu hawajui Spotify, wanajua YouTube. So nyimbo ni nyimbo ikiwa kwenye YouTube.
So how is marketing different for them? Like, do they?
I mean, they don't do digital ads, for example, like YouTube, Instagram, those ones. They're very savvy in that they know so much about social media and posting, and more than Kenyans. But like when it comes to spending, which is something even lower growing artists in Kenya, you would say that's also a big problem when you tell them why you should spend $100 on Instagram ads. Even in Tanzania, it's a thing. Mutuma, do you have a specific?
Yeah. Also, I mean, in Tanzania, we noticed that there are some specific stores, that are big in their market for specific audiomark. Audiomark is really big in Tanzania.
Yeah.
So we notice, that's why, most of them want the ads. Also, in Tanzania, they, get their news from YouTube. They get their news from the online content creators,
Nice.
So most of them, anytime they're marketing, they'll tell you, oh, I want to do this blog. I want to do this blog. And most of the times it works.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's
So
interesting.
I have a question, and this is kind of scaling it back.
Okay.
What is distribution? What is music distribution?
It essentially is just putting, well, it has been since, I guess, as old 70, 100 years almost. Yeah. It's just putting music in the hands of the correct people to ensure it gets to the consumer.
Consumers.
Yeah.
So in the ages where sheet music was a thing, they would just, I guess, have a person, you send the main sheet and then they publish the sheet and then they sell it like in a music store.
Yeah.
So you want a couple of person would have like several stores. And then now, so Afam has like a network of stores. And if I give him my sheet music, he can... So it's the same thing as ONErpm.
Yes, now it's just online. It's just doing that online. Yeah.
So over time, CDs, the same thing. River Road, tapes, River Road, LPs, River Road. And now digital is changing that from River Road to digital platforms, and anywhere you can just go to our ONErpm.com and just upload your music for free, and it goes everywhere, but other platforms will charge. But yeah, so essentially it's just ensuring that music is in the consumer's ear, however you get it there. It can be in the form of DJing, distributing the song to DJs, a DJ network or radio network, or now distribution on
Streaming.
digital platforms, streaming platforms, or back in the day, even remember lyrics on Buzz?
I think on Buzz.
Yes, Buzz used to have like a section.
I remember
of
that.
lyrics.
Oh my
We're
god.
so old.
That's
Yeah.
giving. This
Yeah.
is the second time you've opened a memory. Okay,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
What's happening on the podcast? Wow. So that's music distribution. But has your perception on what music distribution is changed ever since working at ONErpm? Have you like seen different facets to the distribution game that like a general outsider wouldn't really like understand?
Good question. Do you have
Yeah. I mean, especially for us at ONErpm, we look at it in a totally different way from maybe the rest of the distros. There are different kinds of, distributors in the game. There are some like, that are DIY, you just get your music on the platform and they will send to Spotify, to Boomplay, etc.
Yeah.
But then there are, more hands-on distributors like us, that, will come up with marketing plans with you, will, set up, let's say the rollouts, will guide you, on your A&R,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's totally different from giving you the final product and just having it on the consumers.
For me, before I joined ONErpm, I used to work at another distributor. And before that, I used to be the publicist who would have the 3-piece and distribute it to DJs and radio without even paperwork or consent or a form of like agreement that this has been done in a legal way. So joining distribution was like eye-opening for me because I realized that what I was doing was piracy. It is artist-sanctioned piracy, but it was still piracy.
Yeah.
And then now with ONErpm, with the distribution platforms, what it allows us is to be able to protect the artist IP, because once a song is in the distribution network, it has an ISRC code and a UPC code. So if anybody tries to take even a segment of the song, it essentially goes to the artist. So then after that, if we do that correctly and then we put it on TikTok or radio, the artist is protected regardless. But before, those artists, we used to just do YouTube for the longest time, right?
Yeah.
So tumepandisha nyimbo YouTube and then mi nimetumia ma DJs wote, and nobody ever stole from that, but that looks like God's grace.
Yeah.
Because they could have, and they would have said, but your agent sent the song on my email, and that was illegal. So for me, I think it was a constant learning as well of how to do it right. Because as well, something we are doing a lot with telling people is uploading on TikTok correctly. A lot of us don't upload on TikTok correctly. A lot of influencers on TikTok steal artist music. They don't think they are stealing. They think they're creating prominence, but they're really stealing artist music. So you're again going to the ignorance column. Ukimwonyesha anasema, I didn't know I had to use the original sound that was delivered by the... they just thought like because they created their own original sound, they were amplifying. So it's been an unlearning and learning.
Interesting. So I have a question. You talked about piracy, right? And there's a notion that here in Africa, let's use Africa. In Africa, we're a lot behind in terms of these things. Are there conversations within for example, ONErpm and how to combat piracy here locally?
Imagine the number one way for any artist, it doesn't have to be with ONErpm, is to upload their music on digital platforms. That
the number one what? Sorry,
way
I missed
to
that.
prevent piracy is to upload music on, like, not just on digital platforms, anywhere. Like, as long as it's a store, you can argue with them about their values, let that be second to ensuring that any fan, even if it's one fan who's on that platform, they can access your music legally.
Yeah.
Because when we have like preferred stores, like if you look into Kenya, the most ways we access music is YouTube. And on YouTube, you have more content than on streaming platforms.
Yep.
That's a mistake. There's a lot of vernacular artists we're dealing with now. They will tell you, I've never made money from my YouTube. Why? Some random person opened a DistroKid in their name, uploaded the audios, and now has been eating
And these
Just
guys
been
have huge
monetizing
numbers on YouTube,
Yeah.
you know, but then they are not earning because the music is being claimed by
Yeah.
somebody
by
else.
someone else.
Yeah. So and not just them,
That's crazy.
even
Yeah.
veteran artists. So you find the
Yeah.
younger artists are the ones who are properly monetizing, because them, since the day they were zero, they were
Yeah.
content with uploading music, whichever distribution
Everywhere.
platform they were
Yeah.
using.
Yeah.
These other guys are the ones who are like, I don't know what AudioMac is. No, it's okay, you don't know, but be uploading as you're learning. Like
Yeah.
figure out, how do you get your music uploaded on AudioMac? Is it ONErpm? Is ONErpm the solution? Is your current distributor offering that? Contact AudioMac directly if you have to, but figure it out. If it's TikTok, do that, because leaving those loopholes, like I'm not on Mdundo, but I am here. You're creating the chance for some person to come in, take your personality and upload the music. So that distribution has come and really changed that for a lot of artists. Yeah.
Yeah. And also for the new artists, you'll get them, they're not, you know, getting their music on the, for example, ringback tunes, and they're leaving that space, you know, for somebody else to take that advantage.
monetize,
you
yeah.
know? Yeah. So it's trying to balance, and as Bilha said, getting your music everywhere. That's the surest way of, you know, preventing piracy.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
good for the artist to audit the distributor. And it's not a bad question. Some people ask us, how many stores do you distribute to? Do you also do Skiza? Do you also do this? When we don't do Skiza, we'll tell you we don't. So you have to figure out your way around that. We don't do Mdundo. Figure out your way around that. But ensure that everywhere, your music is everywhere.
Okay, so I have a question. Is the value of a stream in back to the value of a stream?
What is a stream?
Now, is the value of a stream, which is already very small, is it the same in Kenya, for example, as it is like in the US or in Europe?
Unfortunately, it is and it's not, in the sense that if they've put like a specific aggregated number, it's 30 cents, then it's 30 cents.
Who is the they?
Yeah.
Spotify, Apple,
Different
every
source.
platform have their own
Who is making these
monetization.
decisions? Okay.
Yeah, the platforms themselves. They decide how much money they want to pay out. Depending on the countries that they are registered in or operational in, there will be bodies from the government or the artist societies that will also keep them accountable. So like the US has been very big on keeping Spotify and TikTok and all of them accountable in how much they pay out to artists, both in publishing and streaming royalties. So yeah, it's like that. But then here's where the difference comes down. Like for Spotify, ads on Spotify determine how much money you're going to be paid in that market. So when Tasker and Safaricom are not buying ads on Spotify, there's very little money to share. So yes, it's 0.30, but it's 0.30 divided by however little money came in that market. So if there was like much more ads, say because you are a big artist or you have some traction on your song, but a lot of EABL ads were played on when people are listening to your free version of Spotify, you get much more. Because especially where you have artists repeat, because it's not just, it's good that people have come to listen to the one song, but they should now be like, okay, let me discover more. Go to the artist profile channel and listen to the catalog and find out albums from 2 years back and whatever. That means to Spotify that you have retained a user. So that's a plus. They usually reward that in many ways, but one of the ways is like you'll see a lot of ads, and that means that you get more ads, not just on Spotify, also on YouTube. So that's where it changes. Like in Kenya, the CPM is 100 still, if I'm not wrong. Stand to be corrected on the CPM, but it's pretty low compared to other markets. That's still CPM per advertising, 1,000 views on the advertising. But if you have our network is an American network. So if your channel is on that network, your CPM is a bit different. When your views, like on that same song that you have 10 views, 2 views came from Nowe, where the CPM was 500. For those 2 views, you get paid at the 500 rate. But for these 8 views where it was viewed in Kenya, so even how much money, sometimes artists anashindwanga kufight na wewe kusema kumbe mi sijui 100 imefika aje, how did we get to 100? Now you have to aggregate data from where did your streams come from? Nigeria. What is the CPM for Nigeria? Ecuador, sijui wapi. So usually you'll see now, bringing the conversation to marketing, us, we tend to push marketing into markets where we know the CPMs to be better or to be good.
Interesting.
So we'll intentionally look at your audience, maybe for 3 months when you're on the platform. Our platform is very intuitive. It will catch all the markets, top 5 markets, all the markets. So then we're able to say, this music is getting some good traction in Paris. Let's re-strategize on Paris. Let's figure out on Portugal.
Yeah.
Let's take it to the markets where real money makes sense. Because we were looking at Boutros' number. We saw Afghanistan was the very last market. And we were like, they're fighting, bruh. When do they have time to listen to Angie? Who cares now?
Yeah.
They're fighting, So it's good to have, it's not just enough to have audience.
Okay.
Like Tanzanians, for example, we're always mad that they're always coming to Kenya. They know this is where their money is better than theirs. So them, they're re-strategizing. Like, why be big in Tanzania when you don't make half as much money, even when you're not top 10 in Kenya? Because here in Kenya, the CPM for YouTube is higher than their CPM for YouTube in Tanzania. So they come fight here to get more. So same thing as Kenyans. Whatever we already have as our birthright or privileges we have that other artists are coming to fight for, it's now for us to think, okay, what other markets can we level this up? Because we are just here fighting with Tanzanians and Rwandese people.
Wait, is that why? Me and Sam noticed there's all these upcoming artists. They usually use Kenya as a stepping stone.
Yeah.
I always see even the Nigerian artists before they pop off, they always
Come to Kenya.
They've come to Kenya. Is this part of the reason?
Well, the Nigerian market has a higher CPM than us, and they stream better than us. But I don't think advertising has quite moved as aggressively. I think the benefit for Nigerian market is that they're everywhere in the world. So the people that are in other markets stream their music a lot, and that ends up making it valuable than the Nigerians in Nigeria. But yes, Kenya has become very instrumental in. It's sort of like the eye of Africa. If an artist makes it in Kenya, comes for a show and actually does a significant amount of pulling people into or pours enough money into Kenyan market and actually converts, they have a chance in fighting the African game. Yeah. We are very diverse.
But why are we not doing that for our own artists? I feel like over here we mainly just there's a few select names that do very well, but across the board, I don't know.
I mean, it's slowly happening because last year I think we saw a resurgence of some guys like Vibe, Vijana Barubaru, with TikTok. Watendawili, they are also doing really well. So the younger generation, are coming in and filling that gap for the Kenyan market. So I think it's a slow process, but then we'll get there.
We're getting there.
We're consuming our own. I think we consume our music primarily. I think the data is wrong that we consume Afrobeats more than Kenyan music.
Okay, wait. So the reason why we named this podcast the 30% podcast is because we saw a statistic, but this was in 2022, so it might have changed. That of the music that's played on radio, that's Kenyan, is between 30 and 40%.
I think despite the effort by the systems to create that where we I want to say, what's the word? The picture that we don't consume our own, that data is still false.
Then that's encouraging news because...
It doesn't mean a lot for the artist still. Because you have to remember even you as a music lover, what's your, how many people are you listening to in a day? Out of the, say, 10,
Yeah, how many are...
How many of them are Kenyan? But there has to be a Kenyan, right? There's even one Kenyan. Then there's then your mom, how many people does she listen to that are Kenyan? She'll have Rose Muhando, but she'll have Masi Masika, right? Typically, someone will have Samido and then Prince Inda. We still listen to Kenyan music. What it is that it doesn't convert as much because our CPM, despite it being bigger for other markets, is still very low. And then now you find the Tanzanians and them understanding the value of market here, they're very aggressive. So there's no one who loves Harmonize but doesn't love Willy Paul. That's very weird. They love Harmonize but they don't know Bahati.
Yeah.
That's wild. They know Harmonize, they listen to Bahati. They listen to Diamond and Willy Paul in the same breath. Willy Paul's fans are not that different from Diamond's fans.
Yeah.
So it's very... the argument can be made in shows that Willie Paul will pull less numbers than Diamond, but in actual listening to if you break down the listener who knows Diamond, how many other Kenyan artists do they listen to? They also listen to Sauti Sol. Davido, they also listen to Sauti Sol. It's very rare to remove like a Kenyan listener from listening Kenyan music.
Yeah.
But what you'll find now, for example, Apple. This is what I think Nigerians used to agree. Last year, Don Jazzy made a fan of Kenyans. He said that we're not listening to Kenyan music because on top 100, there was only like 2 songs or 3 songs that were Kenyan. Apple is not, how many people have paid for Apple subscription in Kenya? If you look
Very
at
few.
hot hits on Spotify, it has a clearer, there's more Kenyan songs on that.
Yeah.
There's Nigerian, but there's more Kenyan songs on that.
Yeah.
Because Spotify is currently the leading DSP in Kenya. But when Apple actually starts fucking around with Kenyans, then they're going to find out that, we like Watendawili a little bit more than you thought.
Yeah.
And Sauti Sol a little bit more than you thought. The problem is right now the people that are paying for Apple are probably Nigerians and non-Africans. So those ones will obviously consume more Afrobeats than Kenyan music. Yeah, and that's usually the problem. Is like in voting. When people don't show up to vote, and then you're saying the country said, listen, these 5 people who came to vote said, the other people sat at home. We have to figure out why did the other people sat at home and how can we get them in the polling stations to vote.
Yeah.
So that's the problem we have.
Sorry, speaking of getting people into the polling stations to vote, I feel like streaming it definitely is the highest revenue earner in the music industry globally, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I feel like it is.
No shows. Shows are still number 1 and brand endorsements.
Well, they still are, but I feel like streaming,
It's consistent.
It's coming competitively.
but maybe not in this market yet. But I feel like streaming...
No, even breaking down Billboard's article on highest performance. Like Drake, it comes number 3. Taylor Swift, it comes number 3. Because of that value of a stream thing.
Yeah. Well, we can. I mean, that's neither here
but
nor
it's
there.
a top 5. It's a top
But
5.
but streaming is definitely a very high revenue earner for the music industry. Maybe not for the artists, but for the the labels, etc., the machine. How do we get more Africans interested in actually paying for streaming? Like, do you think there's any solution there?
Paying for streaming or getting their music out on streaming?
Paying for streaming platforms, because
on the consumer side of
on
it.
the consumer side, because most people will be content with just listening to music for free on YouTube or pirating still. So how can we shift the focus into listening to music on streaming platforms?
I don't know. For one, it's a cultural thing. Music has always been free. Ish, at least associated with free,
I mean, when it comes to culture, yes, music was free. It's just part of the culture.
Yeah. So how we now take that to monetization, we have to do a lot of learning and unlearning. Aggressive lobbying for sure, but the government has to get involved at some point. And partly why I also, Afam, I'm trying to stay away from the streaming is the highest revenue, guys. Career out to get artists. So no. It's not the highest. Don't make it like, okay, are you on Spotify? So now, show us.
I was talking about globally, maybe not in our market.
So there has to be some unlearning, in the sense that we have to see the value, like what we were saying earlier. The problem is that the public is not invested in money that doesn't affect them.
Yes.
They see artists as other. And unfortunately, for a long time, artists have been othered into the eccentric ones, the ones who refuse
Niche,
schools. And it has changed over the years, but it's still been othering. I don't know. I don't know what it will take, but I know for facts, classes.
Yeah. I mean, it also depends on the market because, each market has their, let's say, quote unquote favorite DSP, So you cannot go into a certain market and, force the market to use a certain store.
Yeah.
Especially if the store is not on that specific market.
In the market.
So it's a continuing conversation. Like here in East Africa, we consume YouTube. You'll go to other markets, you'll get, it's Apple Music. So,
Tidal.
It's Boomplay. So, each market has their own, like favorite DSP that most consumers use.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You had talked earlier about or rather you had alluded to to using algorithms to determine how to place an artist's music. Could you probably expand
Was
on
it
that?
algorithms or analytics?
Well,
Analytics. Yeah, we
Yeah.
use data from Spotify for artists.
oh no, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Before you continue, so you don't use you don't play the algorithm game as
Well, everyone
as
has
an-
to play the algorithm game.
okay.
I think how you play it is different.
Yeah.
How you play it is different. Mutuma, why are you laughing? I mean, social media has for example, Instagram. You have to post a certain number of posts for you to get a certain number of engagement per day. I mean, if you are interested in being an influencer, you have to do that, right?
And the posters to be interactive with
Yeah. So
people.
there's a ratio in this tech business or tech world in which you have to feed the algorithm. And so that might be a number of releases, a number of projects, things like those. But as we use analytics more,
Okay.
because algorithm changes, but analytics stays stagnant.
Okay.
Because if you look at, say, algorithm, and right now I think I don't know how many seconds the song has come down to. I'm sure it's less than 3 minutes and more, almost less than 2 minutes now, yeah?
Yeah, around 2 minutes 30 seconds,
Well,
like averagely.
Of a song.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
if you're to play with the algorithm game, you have to release a song that's not more than 2 minutes and 30 seconds for it to like have good nini. So now Kenyans, the way unajua kuna song ya Bahati Bukuku iko na 11 minutes. So you're trying to tell Bahati Bukuku, just cry less on that song, yeah? Take it down all the way to 2 seconds. Yeah. Utakuwa una invade creativity yake, atakufukuza haraka sana. Yeah, kwanza ni Christian anakuambia, oh, the spirit was in the studio. Come on. Utacheza hapo wewe peke yako. So the algorithm game, we have to play to a degree, but analytics stays consistent.
Okay.
If you know that the artist is getting traction in New Zealand, and you can promote in New Zealand, or you can contact a person in New Zealand, contact a person in New Zealand, let's amplify in New Zealand. If it means the artist has to go to the UK at some point, let's tell him to ensure that that's a plan, or he should put that in the plan of his annual goal to be in the UK at some point, because this is a top 5 market. And let's put some more money in the UK market. The same thing Tanzanians are doing with the Kenyan market, or Nigerians are doing with the Kenyan market. You come, you pour the money where the numbers are telling you. You see, like Zinnia lives in Los Angeles because she's seen that her music is consumed more with non-Kenyans than Kenyans.
Yeah.
And that's where she wants to grow from. That's what we encourage Kenyan artists to do now.
But why is that? Because I've even noticed like the likes of Burna Boy, Wizkid, you go on their Spotify's, even Rema, and their top markets will be like things like UK and stuff. Like, why is that? Like, sometimes I feel a bit like, what's the word? Discouraged that like you have to rely on getting like the market from these other, getting the audience from these other markets to build yourself. Like, why can't Zinnia's music, or is it just that it's just not tailored for our market?
Every artist has their different sound. Willie Paul's biggest market is Kenya. Buttress's biggest market is Kenya. Brooklyn, Wakalinali. There's like a lot of them that their biggest market is Kenya. Then there's artists like Nikita, who's, even though one of her biggest market is Kenya, she has potential to have the UK and the US as a big market as well. Same thing to the Burna Boys end. But remember, I often stay away from the Nigerian argument because they're everywhere in the world. So there's so many in the UK.
There are two of them here.
Oh, you guys are Nigerians? Yeah, so you guys are everywhere in the world. Yeah, probably they're getting the highest numbers in the UK because it's still Nigerians consuming their music. It will be very hard for them to break into the UK market, like non-African market in the UK. That takes a different level of investment, which I know that they are now. Probably if the white people know African music, they know Burna Boy and they know they're with it.
Yeah, there's the few that they...
Yeah, a Wizkid. Very few know, like outside of the top 10 Africans. No one knows, say, Willie Paul or Sauti Sol. Or maybe they know Sauti Sol, but maybe no chance they know Brooklyn Boys or something like that. So... yeah, come down to peer psychologists, rather not psychology, just demographics and people and the original. If Kenyans Kama sahi, whenever I see Boutros' numbers in the UK, I know it's Kenyans in the UK.
It's the diaspora.
Yeah,
Nice.
or Australia. There's a lot of Kenyans in Australia as well that are also listening. So at the end of the day, it's still your primary market, but don't be discouraged. Don't be discouraged. Kenyans are supporting Kenyan music.
Don't
be discouraged. Okay, so
discouraged.
Going back to more 1RPM centric stuff. So I read that you guys have a platform for the DIY. It's called Offstep, I believe.
Where did you read?
From the 1RPM website.
Okay.
Yeah. It was also on Music Business Worldwide.
Nice.
And I know you also have a taking off tier, which is essentially where you guys invest more in the artists. Now, is this something that Kenyan artists are also benefiting from, or is it mostly the off-step, more DIY approach?
I'll talk about offset. You'll talk about taking off.
Nice.
So as you said, at ONErpm, we have 3 levels of service. So we have the basic one, that's the DIY, and recently we introduced Offstep, that we think will cater more for the DIY artists that just want to get their music on the stores. But then now we have 2 other more levels of service. You have the taking off and the next level.
Okay.
And this is where we are fully involved with the artists. We know the artist plans. We know, for example, Umsani atatwa, let's say in 6 months. In these 6 months, there is 1 single, there is 1 EP, there's an album. So at least you have an idea. Also, we curate marketing plans together with them. We know what they want to achieve. For example, it's what we just talked about, targeting markets, getting remixes, for example, with different artists from different regions. So this is where we are fully involved. Also, sometimes we will advise on using a certain producer. We'll advise,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, depending on the artist. Sometimes even we will advise on releasing one song against another, depending on how your consumers are consuming. So there's a lot that goes on the taking off and the next level that's not under the DIY.
The
How
DIY.
many Kenyans are on the taking off level?
Under the taking off, a total in all levels we have about 4,000 artists. But then now, once we narrow down to the taking off and the next level, I think there are a couple more, and each day we are increasing the number of artists.
What's the criteria for you to decide? I know we've talked about analytics, but what other criteria do you decide, okay, this artist needs to be in the taking off or the next level tier?
Okay. I mean, the basic one, the standard one is that we look, as a team, for artists, who are hardworking, who are consistent with their own craft. And now, we have, those meetings with them. We know what they want to achieve, and we see if it's mutual. If it's something, that we can do, then we agree, on the basic terms here.
Do you guys okay, so in football,
Okay.
I don't know if you guys watch football. You can rely on statistics, and you can see, oh, this person has this XG, this amount of goals, this amount of assists. Or like me, you can do the eye test where you just watch a football and you're like, I love their football. I think
the
this
game is nice.
I think this person is amazing, and I want to be
Okay.
like, for me, that was why I liked Messi. Anyway.
Okay.
Stop, messy people.
Listen, messy people.
But
Wow.
But even more Salah, like
It's
the
good,
way
yeah.
he plays
Yeah.
his football, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So, for both of you, what do you guys put more stock into? Is it meeting an artist, listening to their music, and saying, "This is dope. I want that artist," or
It's
is
the
it?
feeling.
Yeah. Do you rely more on the feeling, or do you rely more on these are the numbers they're doing, and I project this and all that number stuff?
I mean, it's a mixture of both. I know sometimes I'll wake up in the night, I'll text Bilha, there's this specific artist.
Yeah.
I think in the next 1 year, they'll be really big.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's a mix of, what do you think, Bilha?
Yeah, it's a mixture of both, but you can't, analytics cannot replace guts and that's where now, for example, if you look at Kenyan market numbers compared to other markets in Africa, it's easy to like dismiss and say, yeah, until like, I don't know if you guys saw the feedback for Colors. the way people are like, oh, in Kenya people are singing.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
curious now what they think about Glitch. But you see, but yeah. So
Glitch is the live sound, the live.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're
Had
discussing
we
that.
had, I think, about 4-5 artists from
Yeah.
ONErpm
Uh-huh.
that we got on Glitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that goes to show, it's not just about the distribution. We go,
It's artists, I mean,
beyond
yeah, putting them
the
on
basic
platforms.
stuff. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry.
Nice.
So yeah, so it's easy to disregard Kenyan music, but when you put it on platforms, even on Glitch, when people listened, like on Trio, I remember like immediately after we aired the episode, rather the episode was aired,
Yeah.
the next day there was a Nigerian rapper on his emails actually
Asking
sending
for
a
collabo.
proposal.
Yeah.
Like, bro, I will pay however much you want, bro.
Wow.
So Kenyans might have been like, it wasn't, the usual hate sometimes, and some of them loved it. I remember at Trio watu walipenda sana. It doesn't matter. We often don't do these things for the Kenyan market. Me, I remember the Maya Amolo episode had gone out, and then I'd seen comments from even Danny from Nigeria and a couple of guys, and they were all like, oh, in Kenya they're singing.
Yeah.
And I think it's just that one of like, akuko tuna platform. They didn't. It's not that.
Exposure.
They're not shocked that people have in Kenya that have rings and all of those. They're just shocked to see it in real life. It's like when you think in Africa there are lions everywhere, and then you come and find people live normally. You're like, okay, I knew people live normally, but I thought there would be more. Yeah, just
Moving
like
around.
Africa.
We are not all barefoot.
yeah,
We have
exactly.
shoes.
Just breaking more stereotypes. And I think even within the African community, because we all talk a lot about South African music and Afrobeat, we rarely talk about, say, Kenya. In fact, in East Africa, it's usually bongo that people talk about. So it's very rare you find people talking about Kenyan music.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know the number of times we've sent Nikita's music to artists and they're asking, is this Kenyan? And we're like, yeah,
Yes.
very. In fact,
Yeah.
this line
You must
here
be
is...
proud to say yes.
Oh,
Saying
yeah.
that yes back is a very proud
Come
thing.
on, it's like me, I'm Nikita at that moment.
Yeah.
Or when Buttress's song was doing really well and every artist was on your neck for like the feature.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay. This Kenyan artist is really dope. Every time you ask which Kenyan artist they want to feature is Buttress. Buttress. I mean, you feel so proud. So, yeah, there has to be a certain point in which like gut. And for us, even Mutuma and I, when we started, I'd say gut is what got us to build what we have with ONErpm currently.
Nice.
It was teamwork, but it was really gut. Because some of the choices we chose, even us sometimes we laugh. We're like, bruh, that one, we were joking. That even our bosses believed in the picks we made. Because essentially it's like football. You will have 4,000 people to pick from your academy, but you have to choose a lineup. Almost every year, you have to choose a lineup of several artists. And it's a mixture, like he said. You have to use who's on the app and app that you don't know, but everywhere you move, everyone's talking about this song. And you have to pay attention to that. And then now there's talent, but then gut.
So who's on that lineup right now, like at ONErpm, if that's something you guys can talk about? Like who are you
Buttress
guys?
has always been in the lineup.
Uh-huh.
That's the only one we can mention.
That's okay.
You know the rest. You already know.
Okay.
You know the rest. Like there's Nikita, there's Willie Paul.
Sure.
A lot of those are in the taking off now. That is where now, because that's actually money you put in and time, not just me and Mutuma's time. There's an A&R in Nigeria that knows them by name, a PM in Nigeria that's getting them in the blogs.
Yeah.
So those people, the whole company is invested in for them to win. VBE are also in part of that. We typically announce them on our Instagram page, so it's not like a secret.
It's not a secret. Yeah.
No, it's like we've announced Brooklyn Boys.
But then one thing I think to note is that we have artists from all genres. We don't like choose a specific. If it's possible, we can take a Kikuyu, Amogidi artist. We can take, that's how versatile and flexible.
That's something that personally I'd really like to see. Like with the whole recent Sophie and Zao blow up. I really like to see a Kenyan speaking, not English, right? Like actually like culture and exporting that. That is just I think it's one of the things that contributed to Nigeria's music being so
authentic.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
I mean some of them are not even Yoruba, but they're speaking Yoruba, Yoruba on the track. So it's just something I think that we could grow grow
More,
in
yeah.
and offer platforms to this kind of artists,
Yeah.
not just the ones who are making music that sounds like what we are consuming from the West.
Yeah. So I mean, it's really nice, that we're having these conversations, because way back we never used to even, have guys in these rooms.
Yeah.
We never used to.
It's a privilege.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love it.
We
Yeah.
never used to have, our Kenyan musician on colors. So I mean, it's first of all, we have to appreciate the ones that have gone in.
Yeah.
They have opened the doors for the others. So it's a continued conversation. Hakuna kitu
Yeah.
ati it's cast on stone, they won't come back.
Yeah,
Ama they
yeah.
won't do it again. But then I think it's really nice that at least for now, we can say, oh, Biena ako kwa colors.
Yeah.
Oh, Willy Paul ako kwa glitch.
Yeah.
We never used to have these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really proud, as a Kenyan and also somebody in the music scene.
No, I agree. I think ultimately,
It's true that it's a privilege, and that's good to reframe it for us to even see our dumbness, like as Kenyans, and see Ugandans don't have the same. Because us, when we were posting glitch, how many Tanzanians?
Absolutely, yeah, we were getting
Hey.
DMs, bro. How can we get on this?
Was Joshua Baraka on it?
No, he's
Yeah,
done glitch, but
yeah,
from Nigeria, not on this
No,
one. where-
they came to Kenya. They came to Nairobi.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the first time they were doing it in East Africa.
They want to do it more. So
Yeah.
when we posted, Tanzanians would be like, "Tell us next when they come.
Yeah.
They can tapanda basi."
Yeah.
Like these people want to know so that they can come and camp in Kenya. They might just welcome the glitch guys from the airport. So we have to look at our privilege, I guess, from that perspective. I love that. Yeah. But anything else that we're building on that is for now everybody to see. Okay, that was the foundation. Now this is what I can add to that conversation.
And these things are possible, Yeah.
I think that's an amazing way to summarize that conversation.
Yeah.
Did you have any other?
No, I just want to say, because
Yeah.
from adding to what he said. So yes, this is the step one. So we are in the door now. So it's
Yeah.
also on it's also on the artists, right?
Yeah.
To work hard.
Yeah.
When these guys come in, they're probably just like when a label picks you, they're not going to pick someone who is just not doing anything as an artist, right?
True.
You need to be working
That's
and you need
true.
to be able to position yourself
Yeah.
in places where just those eyes are on you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you need to
Absolutely.
put yourself in front of
Yeah,
everyone's
and
face.
what you normally tell the artists every day on calls with Bilha, there is a huge market outside there from East Africa. You
Yeah.
know, let's make music for the world, not just Kenya, not just East Africa.
Yes. Because then that and we can sit here and type away all day just angrily.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if your music or you as an artist are not opening yourself up to those possibilities, when they come in, they're going to look at you. All right, you make good music,
Yeah.
but this is not going to be able to
Yeah,
work.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. True.
and there's more than just. Unfortunately or fortunately, there's more than just you make good music in the music industry. There's a lot that goes
To that
into it.
point, I remember a while back I was doing a panel on getting it onto the world, and then someone was on the podcast Twitter space, was like, "Oh, how come we don't push Kenyan music?" And then Fully Focus said something very interesting, and though to this day it reframes even me. I tell artists on the calls, some Kenyan artists don't want to be big outside of Kenya. Stop forcing it on them. And I was like, I don't sit with Afam if you're not at home.
Yeah.
I don't know your goals, bro. So why do I come here and start telling you, you could be Joe Biden. You could be this. If you have not
Afam,
seen
you
your
could be.
life.
I could be.
If you don't see your life inside, like bigger
In certain
goals,
ways, yeah.
why am I forcing that on them? And that's a question now when we're having the conversation with the artists, we tell them, I can want everything for you.
But what
As
do
a
you
coach,
want?
True,
you have to tell me what it is that you want, and we will adjust accordingly, because I can't keep forcing you. Let's do Afrobeats. You want to sing Mugithi.
Yeah.
Let's just sing Mugithi.
That actually, I think that's an experience that even producers share. Like when you're working, like let's say for producer, if you pick an artist you want to work with for like a long-term thing,
Okay.
if you're there and you have to be the one to constantly say, come to the studio, let's do this, what are we doing? And the artist is very lax.
You'll
It
burn
becomes
out.
a very difficult
Yeah.
relationship
Yeah.
to work in, and you don't do it for the love anymore.
Yeah.
It starts becoming like more of work, more of a burden, and then the art suffers in that. So
Yeah.
I really get that.
Yeah. So to that end, let's stop forcing Kenyans to be even on those platforms. The artists that never, like, even when we sit, they never ask you, "Can I go to Nigeria, bro?" asemangi hizo vitu. Ye anataka tu do, afanye video zake, the usual way. He never talks about that. And so what we also have had, even part of the learning curve for us, like for distribution, the question that I asked earlier, has been to take the artists as they come.
Yeah.
So there are artists that are just Kenyan artists, and then there are artists that are going to be global artists. And even though I wish something on artists, they have to be the one that comes to us and tells us, we want everything the world has to offer. And let's start with what you guys have to say.
Yeah.
And then we start there. Yeah.
Yeah, and to come back on what you were saying earlier on,
Yeah.
this is where you as a scout, you will know, okay, in 2 years, he will be somewhere, she'll be somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's how we look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The people we've bet on that have been
Yeah.
off and not delivered, or maybe it's a matter of time. Sometimes I have hope, I say it's a matter of time. But the people that from the word go, I mean,
Yeah.
I remember when we had the conversation with Boutros, from the word go, he was like, please, no one waste your time up. I'm ready.
Same.
Yeah.
Even me, the first time Boutros came and we recorded him, I knew that guy was serious because like he'd come and record like a song is done in like 20 minutes. It's done.
Yeah.
He's written
His work ethic is
everything.
good.
You record like you only need to do like 2 takes onto the next thing. Like you can tell that guy like he's where he is now for a reason. And I think even he's one of those guys who I know he wants to be global. You can tell.
Yeah,
So,
and we're rooting for him, hopefully.
yeah.
That's interesting. As a just even staying on this, as someone who goes like an A&R, someone who goes out and finds new artists, right? Are there any penalties for being wrong?
Yes. There are.
How does that work? Oh man, it's nervous laughter. How does that work?
Nervous laughter.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, for us, what has enabled us, yes, there are mistakes, but then, as Bilha said, it's not just me and Bilha, There's our whole team, that, okay, we'll go and share our thoughts with them. We'll tell them, okay.
More experienced than us.
Yeah. And so we'll go, we share with them. And at the end of the day, it will be a whole, committee, of...
So the decision is not just on the individual.
And that, has helped.
It's rare, the thing that you didn't see, that someone else will not see.
Yeah,
and
so
they'll call it out.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's more of, not just one person, but then it's a team.
It's a team effort.
Yeah, that makes the decisions.
But let's say even in the scenario where the whole system has not seen it, the repercussion is usually heavy. And this is where, again, I speak to fellow gatekeepers, fellow decision makers.
Yeah,
gatekeepers,
you
though.
said there are no gatekeepers.
I know.
They are gatekeepers.
Now
I
they are
want to decide. I want to
gatekeepers,
decide.
but
Like who?
Huh?
Like who?
I will not name names, but they are definitely
So,
okay.
I
Like
mean,
for
I even think the gatekeeping scheme has changed from what we used to. Like, whoever we used to consider gatekeeper is now different.
It's different.
Like, Mutuma is a gatekeeper. He just
You might be a gatekeeper, if
I
we're
mean,
being honest.
Mutuma, you should
Sam,
probably...
you might be a gatekeeper.
Yeah,
Alright,
so
we're all wrong.
yeah, exactly. Digital can democratize that. But what I'm trying to say is, a lot of these companies, when they come, and some people, you meet them on LinkedIn, like, I see you doing something good in Africa. I'm doing this, I run this big company, and we're trying to open in Kenya. Would you be okay, or would you want to be part of this, right? And so that's when now you've become a gatekeeper. If you didn't know before that, then you become a gatekeeper, because to that person, they don't have another picture of Kenya other than the one you paint to
The
them.
one you paint to them.
So if you choose that you'll only give them a specific side, which, Kenya is so many fabrics, right? And then you choose one fabric. I don't know why we're laughing, guys.
No.
Let me focus on the color analogy
No,
and finish.
no.
Okay.
Let's go
We're
away from
talking
the
about something else.
Okay. And then, so if you're not able to then correctly get them the investment back, because they're paying you a salary, maybe they've gone to open an office, there's other staff that you've hired on and bet on, then you've given people, because you don't just get people and get them to work with you, there's investment. You've told those companies to put on this artist. So in the scenario that falls back, and this is part of the reason Kenya has had no investment for a very long time, a lot of bad decisions were made, and those people had to pull back, pull out of the market. I remember I was listening to this podcast, and then I called Mutuma and said, sheesh, I've just had a bad morning. Like this podcast was on business of fashion, and they were talking about how everyone is pulling out of China right now because everyone prematurely entered China because it was the highest population in the world. You thought even if I don't get my Mimi, I get 10.
least, yeah.
It's more than
Yeah,
that I've gotten in Kenya, for
Yeah.
example, because of population. Now, because of the pandemic, the economy really, really suffered, and the people that used to buy the stuff no longer there. So businesses had to exit. If we don't make the correct shots, if we are not very wise, and so sometimes that's when Mutuma will tell you we have a team, and you have to humble yourself in that one. You have to come correctly, and you have to get out of your bias. I like music a certain way, but if Samido is the one, why are we wasting time on my? Let's just go with Samido, because you know what, Samido represents more than me.
Yeah.
And more than my other peculiar choices.
Sure.
He represents chances for other Kenyans
Yeah.
to come in and get. Why are we laughing, guys?
No, we're not laughing. We're
Like you and Mtua.
I was smiling. That's
Okay.
a very good note. Yeah, and
It is.
still to emphasize on this, I mean, just to speak on how ONErpm wants to be flexible in all the markets that we
Yeah.
are in. That's why we have physical people on ground, people that understand those markets, rather than having somebody from outside, but then they are running, let's say the Kenyan market, and the Kenyan
Yeah.
market
With
is
their
some
notions of how it
That's
should work.
really important
Yeah,
too. Like that's
yeah.
a really good thing to have
Yeah.
local people on the ground doing
representation.
that. Yes.
Yeah, because most of the artists can speak to you in the language that they want. They can share their ideas. Saa zingine mtu anaweza taka kuelezea kitu lakini anaweza ongea na Kimeru ama na Kiswahili. That's how best they can express themselves. So that's how we are in every market where we say we are physical people on ground representing that specific region.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I feel like we are now getting eyes on us. No matter how it's happening, at least now we can use that as leverage to even do
Kabisa.
better. So
Sure.
my last question, at least for me, would be, where do you guys see the music industry is going? Or what's an interesting thing about the music industry that you're observing that maybe other people aren't, that you think we should be focusing on?
Okay. I mean, for us, even me and Bill, I think at when the year started, we are seeing ourselves, way, way, way ahead globally. We are looking, at getting Kenyan artists, on Grammys.
Yeah.
We are looking, at, doing the undone in Kenya. That's why, we are having these conversations about glitch, about colors. We are trying, to go more than the normal, stuff that is done in the market.
Yeah.
And in the next, let's say, even just a year, even the next 2 years, no 5 years, we are seeing, a lot of global exportation, a lot of, local nurturing of talents.
Yeah.
Because I think also it has to start with us. We have to educate our people. We have to tell them, oh bro, as much as we want you, to go to the international level, lazima hapa tukuwe na marketing plan. Lazima hapa tutafute mtu hiyo market, at least tumweke kwa hii song. Alafu tuweke ads kwa YouTube ama ads kwa DSPs to target your market. We have to have these honest conversations with our guys. So I mean, it's a slow conversation, it's a continuing conversation, but then we are getting there. We have had some huge success stories, and we're still having them. This year we hope to at least grab some nominations from the Grammys, etc.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he said a lot of it, but for us, I think even this year, how we are talking to our artists on the roster that we're planning to sign is when you're coming in, you have to come in with that gut or extra that cannot be accounted for on a table, because it'll look crazy. And actually, on the Grammy thing, I also think one of the first artists that will win a Grammy that's not Nigerian or South African is going to be Kenyan. Not because, well, analytically, Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya is usually the hotspots in Africa, but also just the music and how much we're pushing it. And unfortunately, it'll be an anomaly if we're all not if we're all sitting down and saying, Afam has gone to Grammy, and me, I'm just, waiting to hate on that or whatever. I should be like, he's gone to Grammy. That means they're going to take seriously my
possible.
you know, my thing next. So let me ensure that I have a Grammy worthy hit and all of that stuff. So we're asking artists to come in with that extra, I guess, madness. They already have it because they're artists, and a lot of the things and how they get to wherever they are is from that perspective. But then now we're asking them come also with a very huge amount of belief in something that is unattainable, because that's the only way we'll achieve anything. So in the next few, to be honest, I guess more Kenyans will be rich, I guess.
From music.
Yeah, from music. And, you know, if Kenya is still also the only market I see, like, for example, people have shows consistently, like the Mutorias are always doing shows and streaming, and Akina Ethan Muziki. I see in Rwandese guys who are the same level struggle a bit more.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, it also reframes my privilege that our artists have all that money. So in the next few years, I foresee that we're genuinely going to make good money from music, and you know, investors are going to keep investing in Kenyan music. It's a good sign that as it is, people are taking notice and we have the tide on our side. So yeah, hopefully it keeps like that.
I mean, Kenya is definitely on the positive trajectory. And I think what works for the culture is especially Nairobi is a melting pot, right? And there's a lot of cultures, and we are more accepting of cultures than a lot of other ones. I will not name which ones those are, but we're more
True.
we're more accepting of cultures.
Are we saying Tanzania?
Yes.
Okay.
We're not supposed to name them.
Or South Africa. Okay.
So that's one thing that would really you're going to get us in so much trouble. We're already fighting with Tanzania. We're trying to
Our podcast, by the way, we have
we have beef already with
Tanzania.
Sorry, did you guys? I don't know if it's part of this. Did you guys see that the UN is moving half of its staff to Kenya?
Wow.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was on Twitter a while back before they took my Twitter. It was...
they took your Twitter?
Someone hacked it.
Oh, no. Sorry.
I found out this morning.
No.
Yeah, so anyway, UN is moving half of its staff from the New York office to Kenya. And guess what? The people that run the comments. Yeah, you better be taking them to Kenya, not South Africa. You know, like, we're like, already it's announced it's Nairobi, Kenya. Like, calm down.
Yeah.
Everyone now in the Ruaka area is like, oh, rents are going to skyrocket, you know, all of that. But South Africans are in the comments. Hopefully it's not South Africa. Calm down, you know. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, but no, that's just to say, I think Kenya is a very promising space for creativity. And it's starting to bloom. I don't know. It's starting to bloom. We're starting to see a lot of movement. There has been movement, and then there was sort of like a lull period, but then I think we're starting to go up, which is just really cool. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so like always with our guests, we like to ask you guys to play songs. Has to
My
be
favorite
Kenyan.
part.
Yeah. So we can start with you, Mutuma.
Okay.
What song would you like to play for the end of the podcast?
I'll
Don't
go.
play my song.
No, I'm not sure you are expecting this. Anyway, I'll go with Watendawili.
I knew you were going to say that.
Cham, Atoti, quote unquote.
Okay, cool. So here is Atoti by Watendawili.
Nakala chafu nandika andiko ni nyaka insha mama pia teri usengei Owinja wera gimulo pokane no pia tingi kindegei Atoti champo Atoti ngena ngena Atoti ukizungusha Naishi wana hewa Atoti champo Atoti ngena ngena Atoti ukitingisha Naishi wana hewa Atoti unisore Atoti sungore Nenu nyiri mangento ginyaliga Jabera yen gichumale Dendi giwangi pironega Wakikuona wanabaki wakishanga Vile unazitoka walai blanda Mini metekwa Napewa mahaba Ay 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 Ulala I say you do it now Jabera yeah Kama mtoto napewa masiwa Ay 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 Ulala I say you do it now Jabera yeah Kama mtoto napewa masiwa Atoti champo Atoti ngela ngela Atoti ukizungusha Naishi wana hewa Atoti champo Atoti ngela ngela Atoti ukitingisha Naishi wana hewa Atoti champo Atoti ngela ngela Atoti ukizungusha Naishi wana hewa Atoti champo Atoti ngela ngela Atoti ukitingisha Naishi wana hewa Osnauru Kevin Ratego Daktari Papa Manento Mama Messi Sunbreeze
Ya wakini pego mera Watendawili Pinyo pongi weche yawa Lakini wa mosu mokuongo Ani longanio nyachi pala Wodo bongo Woda oko nyakotian Todo moso kosta ojuan kanyo
Ay 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 Ulala I say you do it no Jabera yeah Kama mtoto napewa masiwa Ay 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 Ulala I say you do it no Jabera yeah Kama mtoto napewa masiwa.
So that was Atoti by Watendawili. Bilha, what would you like to play?
What would you like to play?
VBE Nowe.
Wow.
Nowhere?
Nowe.
Nowe in Kikuyu.
Oh, Nowe.
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 Sing.
No, I don't
Yeah,
know how to
intro
sing.
it with the song.
Yeah.
Introduce it by singing. Nah, please.
Tuku will kill me, you
please.
guys are-
Please.
My voice
Let's
is so
hear.
weak.
Nah.
Yeah,
No,
there's
here,
no need for
here. Let's go. Okay.
Try. Let me record.
Should we get a metronome for you?
No,
Should we
guys,
get a-
there's no way I'm singing, but yes, Nowe by VBE.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Nowe. That's all I can say.
Oh,
Correct.
she gave us. All right.
You know,
so
I
this is-
sing off key a lot.
Oh, it's fine. A lot of listen without autotune, we'd have
all
a different
be bad,
accent.
yeah. But
This
that's-
is
yeah,
this is
Alafu
VBE with.
mmeniambia mbele ya producers.
Wow.
It's all right. We know. This is VBE with Nowhere.
Yes.
Vijana barubaru na wewe ya dada. Listen. Tuanze na nyumba ya mabati, tuchome dondo chapati, omba nguo za kuenda party, yeah. Usimaindi. Mina wetu pange mikakati, vita ni kupoteza wakati, naomba tupatane katikati, yeah. Usimaindi. Tutabae nywele ya farasi ma, nguo utadunga ni Versace ma, nitabae gari utadrive bima, Juna deserve. There's nothing better than this love, so how talaka let's live up, my forever by default. No way, kairetuga kwa no way. Baki na mimi, no way. They wanna love, they wanna feel, they wanna need, they wanna need it. They wanna love, they wanna feel, they wanna need.
kama ni mapenzi ushanipenda, basi mimi nitake nini tena? Mimi nikiwa chini ukunilenga, tunapanda juu na nijenga. Cheki vile mbali tunaenda, straight good loving agenda. Umenifunga pingu na surrender, nilalishe ndani bima jaila. Hela zikidhela, mfuko itoboke kuwa tailor. Hapana choma picha choma vela, give me real love bila error. There's nothing better than this love. Sahau talaka, let's live up. My forever by default. Nowe, 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 Nowe. Kare tuga kwa Nowe, Nowe, Nowe. Baki na mimi, baki na mimi. Nowe, Nowe, Nowe.
They wanna love, they wanna feel, they wanna need, they wanna need it. They wanna love, they wanna feel, they wanna need. They wanna love, they wanna feel, they wanna need, they wanna need it. They wanna love, they wanna feel, they wanna need.
That was VBE Nowe. Did I get that right?
Yeah, he tried.
I tried. Oh,
You
damn it, I didn't
tried.
get it right. It's okay. It's fine. It's fine,
Nice.
it's fine.
Yo, thank you guys so much for pulling up, man.
Okay, okay.
It was a
This-
good conversation.
This was a really good conversation.
A lot of unedited things.
I might just
Hopefully.
leave that all in.
Hopefully.
Get you guys in trouble.
But yeah, so I like to leave the podcast with, I've started doing a new thing, but like always, if you're listening to this podcast, remember the 3 C's. Confidence. If you're in the music industry, you have to be confident in your work, man. Like you have to be confident. Consistency. You have to be consistent because there's so many people releasing music. And if you're not consistent with your music, you will just be forgotten. And the last C is craft. Always work on your craft every day. If you can do one thing that's related to the music, even if it's watching a tutorial on how to do hi-hats, that's still that's still a positive thing. So yeah, I just like to end the podcast with that, Sam.
No. Good.
Okay, and we forgot this is at the beginning of the podcast, but you guys can listen to this podcast or stream this podcast on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, and on Anchor Podcasts, and that will be the 30% podcast. You can also find us on social media at the 30% pod on Instagram, on X, on Threads, on TikTok, and on LinkedIn if you're trying to link and build. Again, Bilha and Mutuma, thank you guys so much
thank you
for
guys for
coming
coming,
through.
man.
And yo,
We appreciate
Thank you for
it.
having us.
listen,
Survived.
we'll see you guys on
survived.
We'll survive. We'll see you guys on episode 70.
Oh, wow. We're out of the 60s.